Hi, this is about communications in the business environment, histories and trends, and the future of business communications. Face-to-face communications are probably the most efficient and definitely the more personal types of communication. Communications in the business world can determine the results of paramount decisions. The history of business communications is, of course, linked with histories of communications itself and that of business operations. When the two merge, they become a vital part of successful commerce. The communications trends from the beginning of mankind, when people drew pictures, through Gutenberg's printing press and through today's technologies that include ways and means to communicate from opposite sides of the spectrum in the real time and be able to visualize in addition to audio. Business decisions can be made in minutes that used to take days. Nonverbal communications can also be observed from various parts of the world thanks to technological formats such as FaceTime, Real Meeting, and other avenues. Regarding the future of business communications, we presently have email, mobile phones, social, text, chat, etc. The technology relative to them continues to evolve rapidly and continuously improve, and does not take into consideration all the new technologies that will come into fruition in subsequent years. There will probably be several important improvements in the short period of time to assist our business communication. There are so many tech-savvy, out-of-the-box thinkers that it's tough to keep track of all the options. The importance of communications in a business environment. Business communications serve the consumer and business stakeholders, let alone the interbusiness communications that constantly occur. Another type of communications in the business world is advertisement and promotion. Getting the word out is the primary avenue to gathering market share, increasing net profits, and pleasing stakeholders. Or should I say, attaining my stakeholders' goals, of course. Business operations become more efficient when consumers provide feedback, thus informing the businesses what they want, how they want to receive it, and provide some business metrics as well from these feedback. No need for traveling salesmen today. Computers and the internet have shifted the consumer paradigm forever. Personal importance for my career. Almost every business person can recall instances where a project deadline was not met. In my case, many times. A cost overrun has been incurred or have been incurred. A customer complaint was not handled well. Stockholders were not well informed about the status of their business. And in my case, miscommunications and misinterpretations with my superiors have prevented me to exhibit the intent of my original conversation. Excuse me. Too many times I have departed meetings and said to myself, how come I didn't say this? When asked a particular question, thinking to myself that I really blew it, I made myself appear to not have made the correct decision. If I had communicated properly, my superior would have had the confidence in my opinion. In my brain, I knew exactly the correct thing to state. However, it just didn't come out right. I do this often until I finally begin to feel comfortable talking to my boss and other superiors. I have been fortunate and lucky enough to remain employed long enough to get comfortable. Usually it takes me about a year, to be honest with you. These communication mishaps could have possibly created reasons for termination. Again, I've been fortunate. My diligence, very hard worker, has been the primary reason for this fortune. And to be able to maintain employment until I made it to the comfort zone. This paragraph is cited in my personal experience as a manager supervisor since 1981. Cases similar to this can many times be rectified easily and do no harm. However, if something is not communicated properly, the ramifications can be detrimental. While there are normally extenuating circumstances that cause the communications issue, almost always poor and inadequate communication was part of the problem. As you can see in this paper, I'm having a few here. Good business communication is imperative to alleviate embarrassing or unproductive situations. Incorporation and implementation of corrective action. Good communication means the intended message you send is received by your audience without any distortions in meaning. This definition applies to not only personal communication among friends or relatives, but to business situations where you may be communicating with a coworker, one-on-one, or in a meeting with several people or more. The key here is clarity. One of my lessons learned is to be confident prior to attending a business meeting, or for that matter, even speaking to a potential one-time customer or business partner. In 37 years of management, I have been quite good at what I do. I do not understand why I lack the confidence needed. I was in a discussion with an upper manager when I was a 30-year-old supervisor. I mentioned to him that I felt a lack of confidence. He looked at me with awe and said, "You? Why in the world do you have a confidence issue?" I had been a supervisor for 6 years. I constantly adhered to my budgets and schedules and was referred to by many as the boss's fair-haired boy. Slang terminology for the boss's favorite young supervisor, you could say. Self-confidence and communications go together like hand in the glove. It is imperative to have both in order to obtain efficient communication. People can normally people can normally pick up on the fact that someone lacks confidence. For the person whom lacks confidence, in my opinion, he or she cannot communicate well enough to make a prudent business decision. This sometimes is my personal predicament. However, there are times when my confidence is very high. This normally occurs after I have successfully accomplished something. This has happened to me during my entire career. I have never been able to figure it out, and I will be ending this career in about 5 years. However, I do think that a lot has to do with job security. I've never been laid off or fired, but in this business, you never know. It is like, what have you done for me lately? By the way, I work in the shipbuilding industry and have so since 1978, directly out of high school. I think that when a person is concerned that if he or she loses their job, it will be catastrophic, as most people have family to support and bills to pay. Back to the confidence factor and job security. I've always felt that I've had to work to support my family or whatever reason, and I'm always worried a little about job security, which creates a domino effect. If I'm spending time worried about job security, then it takes time from being productive. Bad decisions are sometimes made as well, due to the fact that I still worry about something that has never happened. Subsequently, when my mind is on something relative to job security, and bad decision normally causes rework and self-confidence erodes. I have worked on corrective action in various manners for many years. This issue has improved throughout the years, however, not to the extent needed or wanted. This is one of the reasons I returned to college 40 years after graduating high school. Knowledge is everything, in my opinion. The knowledge that I obtained throughout my college years has increased my confidence factor. Although when things do not go correctly, i.e. a cost overrun, I begin to relapse into a lower confidence realm. Good communications in the future. Good business communications helps get the job done well, on time, and on budget. The boss or team member who can communicate objectives and rationale regarding an assigned task in a concise and coherent manner contributes more to a company's success than one who does not. Here we may get to the difference between a leader and a manager. These communicators are highly valued in today's complex and competitive business world, and often earmarked for promotion and increased responsibility. I began as a supervisor 24 years ago in 1978 at a shipyard, as previously mentioned. I've been in this profession ever since. I was promoted at the ages 24, 30, 36, 45, and lastly at age 56. I think that I'm very fortunate because the aforementioned promotions were extremely sorry for the interruption. I'm at home today I have a doctor's appointment, and just had a phone call from work. We handled it confidently as well. Anyway, my lack of communication skills probably held me back from getting where I wanted to be sooner. At my place of employment, which employs about 500 people, there are one more promotion I would like to attain before I retire. My boss has quite a bit accomplished regarding my abilities. However, I still get in meetings with him and end up stating something that I regret after I depart. Why did I say this? Why did I say that? Sometimes I try to correct in the meeting, but I dig deeper and deeper. In times like these, I need to learn when to cease discussion and hope to have the opportunity to discuss the topic again. Keeping it simple. Good business communication is simple and easily understood, a rule often overlooked by managers and team members. This is especially important when preparing a document, speech, or presentation that is a game changer for the company. Single and concise language wins over language that is obtuse and hard to understand. Keeping it simple and being myself are two primary keys to my future business environment communications. Thank you very much. Joe Ducote.